From the team on your side, this is 9 News with Good Morning Tri-State.
Okay, great. I'll let you lead it.
Thank you so much, Mike. Well, putting together a will doesn't have to be complicated or even very expensive, but statistics show most adults don't even have a will. Financial expert and certified public accountant William Hesch is here with more on this topic. And you know, like you say, a lot of people don't have a will, but what happens if you die and there isn't an estate plan?
Well, and what happens is the government has set up an estate plan for you, which may not be what you want.
And that would really be disappointing, I know, for a lot of people.
Well, especially if you're married, a lot of times you want to leave everything to your spouse. The problem in Kentucky is that if you die without a will in Kentucky, your spouse splits the property with your children.
Wow, so that's something to really think about. Well, let's go down a list here that you have too on why people need to have a will. Let's begin with the property division specifically. Right.
The purpose of estate planning is who gets what and when. And so you're trying to divide your property, and Ohio has the problem too that the same as Kentucky, that you may not want your property to be split with your spouse if something happened. You may want everything to go to your spouse. So property division is the #1 issue that I find with that if you don't have a will, that it may not be what you want. You're also trying to look at, are you financially secure is another issue that comes up, and going through the estate planning process might raise those issues. Have you really properly planned for your death? And typically there's no sense of urgency.
Right. A lot of people are not necessarily trying to jump on that one.
Absolutely. And that's almost senseless. So that's another important thing that, and some people try to get around this by saying, well, I'm just going to leave the assets directly, whether it's life insurance policy will pay directly to your beneficiary, or it could be the property is transferred on death through a deed and survivorship. So the thing that I think that is also important for a lot of couples that have children is that you need to designate your guardian.
Must have the guardianship set up.
Because a lot of times, if you don't have a will, then the court may not know your wishes as to who you would want the guardian to be. A lot of times you'll leave the assets, the guardianship will be to the surviving spouse, but something happened to both spouses. Or if you're divorced, and you didn't agree typically in your divorce, and now all of a sudden both of you have passed away, and who's going to raise the children?
So a lot of questions to think about.
We don't want a family feud for
which
who's going to raise the kids. It happens all the time.
And let's move on to point #3 too, as far as having a will and a trust overall.
Right. The purpose of a trust is to try to help control when your heirs receive the property. It's very typical that a lot of times when heirs receive property that they spend it within the first year. You also, if you have a large estate, you can save estate taxes if you have a trust, and use that trust to help you save estate taxes if you have a larger estate.
So you can end up possibly paying more, or at least your beneficiaries paying more in taxes if you don't have these things set up.
Well, in fact, yes, and the Ohio law has not kept up with the federal law, so people that have set up the trust 5 or 10 or 20 years ago, those laws have changed and could result in Ohio taxes being paid needlessly if you don't go back and review your estate plan if you do have a trust that's been around there for a while.
Now, Bill, we've seen all over the place too where you can pick up a form and, you know, go to Walmart or something and just buy Susie Orman's will and trust or something like that. But is it really good to go into someone's office, sit down, and make out a will?
I think it's very important, Janelle, because these issues that we're talking about, and I've seen the form documents, and it is important that the form documents cover 50 states, and there are peculiarities with Kentucky law, Ohio law, Indiana law, that you may not be covered in that form document.
So a lot of more questions that maybe specifically one-on-one can help. Well, thank you so much, too. We want to let people know how they can get a hold of you. You can contact William Hesch for information by going to our website, Wcpo.com, and just clicking on 9 links. Thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Janelle.